हारिणम् सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्णवागीशयतेश्वराभ्यां सम्प्राप्तचक्राङ्कणभाष्यसारम् श्रीनूत्नरङ्गेन्द्रयतौ समर्पितस्वं श्रीकृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमीडे विरोधे कार्तिके मासे शतताराकृतोदयम् योगाचार्यं कृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमहं भजे। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। Okay, can one of you lead the group with a 5-minute pranayama practice? Somebody was not done it before.
I haven't done it before. I'm not very confident, but I'm going to go for it.
Just do it, yeah, just do it.
So can we
It's
all
only a practice, okay? Look at it as a practice, that's all.
can we all close our eyes? Just take a couple of breaths, connect with our natural breath. Also get in touch with our bodies. Notice how we are sitting. What do we feel in our bodies? Is there any tension? And as we observe ourselves, try and sit on your sit bones. Shoulders rolled back slightly without any tension. And bring your chin into the Jalandhar Bandha position. Couple of breaths here. We're going to do the Nadi Shodhana Pranayam, which we're all familiar with. And we'll do it for a few minutes, each at our own pace. Please follow the ratio of your exhale being twice that of your inhale, whatever is comfortable for you. And do take note of having maybe a second, maybe a couple of seconds of pause after the inhale as well as the exhale. You can bring your right hand into the Mrigi Mudra position. Bring it up to the bridge of your nose and start whenever you're ready. I'm going to let you do this part silently. Just one instruction. Inhale from the left nostril. Hold. Exhale, keeping it as long as you can, if not twice the inhale, at least longer than the inhale. And hold again after exhale. Now inhale from the right side and repeat. We'll do this for the next 2 or 3 minutes silently. Let this next round be your last round. And bring your hand down when you're done. And just keep your eyes closed. And once again, just take a few breaths and notice your breathing. Note the quality of your inhale and the quality of your exhale. Just observe. You may bring your attention back to the body now. What do you notice? Do a scan from your toes upward, your legs, any tension anywhere. Just let go. Whenever you're ready, you may open your eyes and come back.
Thank you, Ashwara. Any reason you chose Nadi Shodhana?
Yeah, I was just aware that it's one of the balancing ones. So it felt as though it would be a complete practice in itself if I did the Chandra Vedana and Surya Vedana. And also, I was just trying it myself in my own practice. It was fresh in my mind.
So when you have a very short time, might be better to choose a simpler technique. Okay, for a few reasons. Number one, you have to spend time explaining the technique, observing how people are doing it, correcting their hand position and all that.
Mm.
And the time is very short. Every Nadi Shodhana, one cycle is 2 breaths and not 1 breath. The second is you don't know the group, whether people have nostril blocks or whether they have difficulty inhaling through the nostrils, because it's a group setting, right? And moreover, you also gave a ratio. You chose a technique and you gave a ratio. 5 minutes to do all this can be a challenge. So rather, if you just choose a very simple technique and stay with actually people experiencing the breath more than getting like Nadi Shodhana takes time for people to get used to the technique. That itself will take 5 minutes or maybe even longer, much longer. Yeah? So it's always better to choose something simpler given the time that you have. The hand position I was noticing for everyone. So it's all permutations and combinations with it, right? So how do you hold the hand for Nadi Shodhana? And what determines that? So number one, the elbow is not above the shoulder, it is below the shoulder. Okay. To take the elbow up, you observe what happens to the head will have to go up. You can't maintain the chin down position. So I can't keep it like this and do this. You see what happens. To try it. So keep the elbow up above the shoulder, keep the chin down, observe what happens to your neck. It's a very unusual, uncomfortable position, right? So elbow is down, and some of you I noticed the hand was like stuck to the chest like this. Now that doesn't help you to expand freely. So the hand has to be going away from the body slightly, but it shouldn't get too wide. What happens when your hand goes too wide? It will pull the head to one side. So your head will not be aligned to the body. So this is the angle, okay? And ensuring through the practice, initially you could even do it in front of a mirror or something. Close your eyes, do it for 10 breaths, watch. Do it so you observe whether your head is being pulled to one side, okay? The wrist is flexed. So it's not like this. because then you're breathing into your hand, just flex like this. Yeah, yeah. So this is the angle. And of course, each individual, based on your strength and your flexibility and level of tightness in the shoulder, neck, etc., you may have to modify the hand position. Again, you have to modify it to suit you, right? But the classical technique, you don't do it like this, you don't do it higher, you don't do it stuck to the chest, you keep it like this. Yeah. So you don't do it like this also. And you never do it like this. Never. Always one nostril is fully closed, the other is partially closed. That's a very, very important aspect of the technique. Any nostril control breathing for that matter. Okay. I like the way you started with focusing on the body and stabilizing the posture, etc. Again, given the time, spend less time. So if you have 5 minutes, you'll spend say 30 seconds to take care of the body. Then maybe another 1 minute to just be with the natural breath. Then ending also, you came back to the natural breath. You gave a very beautiful transition. Choosing a simpler posture will see anytime through the day, just taking 10 breaths, coming back to your breath is a very, very good practice. To come back to it again and again, you don't need to do a 30-40 breath pranayama that time. But your regular pranayama practice should be long enough. It can't be 6 breaths or 10 breaths.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'm waiting for you people to present the 5 groups. Ready? Who wants to go first?
Our group can go first, actually. Manisha, are you here?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. Yashodha, you present the thing on the screen?
Yes. It won't optimize exactly, but I'm hopeful everyone can see the slides. Manisha?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a fun exploration doing this. As we were reflecting upon our statements, reflecting upon our reflections rather, we thought, why not feel it? So we experimented and tried to feel it in our body and our senses. There were some interesting revelations. We'll start with each of the kleshas. Let's move to the next slide. So we'll start with Dvesha. Some of the statements that we identified as coming from a place of Dvesha were, I didn't like that he was pampering her by buying her a cell phone. I didn't want to encounter a sense of hurt. I really get annoyed when my kids don't listen to me. All of these statements seemed to leave a bitter taste, something like a bitter gourd. And when we try to feel it in the body, it was felt as tension in the shoulders, tightness in the chest, the gut, temperature change in the hands. Some of us had cold hands, some of us had sweaty palms. So that's how we experienced Dvesha. Moving to Raga. The statements went like this. I did like that an iPhone seemed to make my daughter happy after months of being low. It was like there was a craving for this complete surrender. The praise that I got from others about my asanas is a driver for me. All of this felt like a sweet taste, like a juicy, delicious mango. And in the body, it showed up in our facial expressions, the salivating tongue. That's how we experienced it. Then moving to Asmita. Asmita, we thought, was the queen of all kleshas. We felt it like an all-consuming, wholesome fruit, like an avocado. The statements went like this. I felt like I was losing control as a parent. Even though I know I am right, I won't back down in the argument. I know I have improved a lot when it comes to controlling my temper. In the body, we felt it in the lower back, as a pain in the lower back, in the chest, and in the gut. Moving to Abhinivesha, we realized that Abhinivesha was deeply rooted in the Asmita, almost like the seed of the tough seed of the avocado that's entrenched in the fruit. This was very interesting. The statements were something like this. I feared that I was failing as a parent. I was worried about her depressive tendency and obsession with loss. I'm thinking about how my family will deal with it if something happens to both me and my husband. We felt it all over our bodies like a current. There was a sinking feeling in the lower belly, anxiousness in the chest, lump in the throat. So all of this gave us some interesting key learnings. Yashodhara, do you want to take that up?
Sure, I'll run through them. So there were 4 things which we found very interesting. One was the kleshas showed up a lot. So when we examined the statements, there were a high number of statements which actually had some form of judgment in it. And it seemed that whenever there was a judgment or an opinion, it was easily identifiable as a klesha. Not always easily, actually, but they were there. There was also the fact that we found ourselves beginning to force fit and be self-critical. So we began to question statements which actually did not have kleshas in them, but put them down as raga. So for example, this statement, I experienced a strong shraddha. One of us had a tendency to classify it under raga, but then upon later reflection, decided that actually there was no raga. It was just a sense of shraddha. So it takes some thinking to be able to correctly identify and classify. The kleshas also showed up in subtle ways. So for example, in this statement, which could look objective, I have made considerable progress with my breath control. It's actually one of mine. And when I thought about it, I realized that there is a hint of asmita between such statements and several of such statements that I had made in my own reflections. We also discussed that there was usually some klesha beneath the klesha which was not always obvious. And abhinivesha, for example, could be one that is actually underlying both raga and dvesha. In a single statement, we also felt you couldn't tightly actually compartmentalize. It could be that they existed in the single statement. And one interesting thought we had was just like asmita actually seems to be key and underlying the others, in a way, abhinivesha as a shadow of the asmita also exists because it is a protection of the asmita. So that was also there at a more subtle level. This whole idea that the kleshas do show up in the body and we were able to feel them was very interesting. We didn't explore what it means in terms of breath pattern, but it seemed that self-observation on the use of body and breath changes might help as clues to see which klesha is active at a given point in time. And finally, we realized that we can go a lot deeper than the superficial level of what a statement looks like. And even in our understanding of asmita, we recall that asmita isn't about just the superficial sense of I-ness as separate from everyone else, but at a deeper level, it can mean a sense of connectedness. So we thought about the session that we had where we reflected on the loss that we recently had of our own Devjit ji. And we felt that one of the learnings from that was that that sense of connection goes much deeper than we would have initially suspected. And the reflection of what we have lost was one way to access it. And on an ongoing basis, the pause. So in the middle of a fight, being able to actually see what's going on at a deeper level and sense that connectedness between the person that we are fighting with can actually make a difference to the future of how that conflict unfolds. So these were the 4 main learnings that we had. Manisha, back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Yashodhara. And as we were preparing this, there was a moment of epiphany that all of this exploration in itself also seemed like Asmita. So we took it in a light-hearted way and let's move to, we had these fruits and we said, when life gives us fruit, we make a punch. And we had this drawing which, the tree, yeah. So the root of it all is avidya, but that gives rise to each of this raga, dvesha, asmita. Like I said, asmita was the queen, so we gave her a crown. And abhinivesha being like a bolt of thunder, feeling everywhere in our body. So that's how we pictorially represented this. Any of you would want to add to this? Shruti, Brunal?
I want to say one thing, which is that last night Manisha and I were discussing that we were running out of time and we were having technical challenges and communication issues. And we realized that our own kleshas are getting activated. And that is where this light-hearted humor and this sense of fun really helped to diffuse the situation. So we felt that humor is actually one super antidote to the kleshas, which we can leverage. So yeah, we had fun with it.
Yes, Manisha, if you can put in the diagram, I just wanted to share something. So here we see that avidya is actually the ground, the rooting where everything, the rest of the kleshas are actually resting on. And we as a group, we felt like asmita, is there in almost, whether it's abhinivesha, dvesha or raga. Asmita, the I-ness is present in the remaining 3 kleshas to kind of be activated. So that is kind of giving structure. So that's why we put asmita in the center, like how Manisha has shared. And obviously there's raga, the attachment, and then there's dvesha, our likes and dislikes, and abhinivesha, we just put a thunderbolt, because every time you're afraid of fear, there is a sense of startle. You feel like a thunder striking you and you're not very comfortable. So that was the pictorial representation that came to our mind. So that's why we put it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. It was wonderful. I just have a couple of questions. Why did you start with dvesha and not raga? Because even Yoga Sutra starts with raga and then comes to dvesha.
In the structuring, that actually did occur to me when we were putting the slides.
Yeah, interesting. And also, it was beautiful that you observed the body, to look at how the body was reacting to these emotions. What about the breath? No, even watching the breath, maybe it will give us a lot of insight into what is really happening. Sometimes the breath immediately will have a reaction, like, because it's the flow of the prana. Like when we experience fear, we hold the breath. Suddenly we stop breathing or something like that. How does it happen when we feel dvesha, when we feel raga? It's good to also start looking at that. But wonderful, beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All your Asmitas are happy now. and see, these are not independent of each other. It's how something is getting expressed in that moment is what you call. If it is getting expressed as, oh, I want this, I want more of this, that is a raga. So I want more of appreciation, as my Asmita is now wanting that appreciation, right? Or my Asmita does not want to experience anything that is critical, that kind of thing. Now, 2 things I wanted to remind all of you is, don't substitute these words with an English word. Okay? Because the English word will have different connotations. And sometimes we get stuck with that meaning, forgetting to explore the actual meaning of what we are experiencing. That's very, very important. And again, the reminder is there is nothing positive or negative about the kleshas. It is very much part of our life. There is a purpose, and it is serving the Prakriti in some way. Only when they go beyond bounds, they cause the dukkha. And when we are able to recognize, work with them, avidya can also end. When avidya ends, there is kaivalyam, freedom from dukkha. Let us not get to that point. We just try to remember that don't look at it as good or bad or right or wrong, because even that idea is coming from avidya. Good is ragam, bad is dvesha. Yeah? So just remember that. And like you pointed out, the asmita at every level is different. At a very, let's say, sensory level, the asmita is food, material things, how I like something, I don't like something, all that. Who I am not, how I want to be seen, what clothes I wear, how my house is kept. All that is one level of asmita, right? Another level of asmita is my mind, how the manas functions. I know this, I have this qualification, I can understand this very well. I want people to see me as an intelligent person. Am I asking intelligent questions or not? Yeah. Then at the ahamkara level, the asmita is my sense of self, who I am, how I am seen in this world, right? For me to see different aspects of myself. Then at a much deeper level, like you said, asmita is also the connection, that you see that you're not an individual. Like I would say that is still at the ahamkara level, that you're able to connect to another being and see that you share the same, that person. You're all interconnected. To go deeper than that at the buddhi level, there is no asmita actually. Go beyond that.
So actually, Asmita, the deeper you go, it's actually enhancing the consciousness. There's nothing like
How you experience yourself, that's all. Asmita is nothing but your sense of self. How you experience it at different levels is different. That's
depending on the purity of perception as we go.
Yeah. Deeper your location, you can see more, you can embrace more. You're not limited by this very rigid idea of this is me, I am separate from the world. That will begin to dissolve. Yeah.
So actually, we cannot call Asmita as ego. That would be very limited.
Don't call Asmita as ego, please. Asmita is not ego. Ego can be one aspect of Asmita. That's all. So don't call it ego. Asmi bhavaha. It is like I am this. That feeling is Asmita.
So Saras, I have a question. You said when we go deeper, Asmita doesn't exist.
Very much there. What it identifies with will change. So right now, my Asmita is identified with this body, this knowledge, this role I play in my life, these relationships. I'm attached to these people. I don't like these people. I am an Indian. I am a woman. Yeah, that all this is there. So as the mind, that these kleshas become weaker, as the Asmita becomes more and more subtle, then you experience yourself as more than all this, as different from it. So the Asmita Rupa, you come to the first chapter of Yoga Sutra.
So the
Asmita begins to identify itself with the larger, the Purusha.
Okay.
Okay, next group. So this whole exercise was just to bring more clarity and understanding, and also joyfully explore this space rather than make it like some kind of labeling ourselves or boxing ourselves, because we're all made up of everything. Just begin to look at it with wonder. Next group.
If you don't mind, you had asked a question to group 1 about why did they start with Dvesha. Even I am curious, we didn't hear an answer. There
It
is
doesn't
no.
matter. I think I was not looking for an answer, but we tend to sometimes look at, like when let's say you do a presentation. Suppose I ask you, what did you do well? First, people will say what they didn't do well. It's very difficult for us to look at what is good, particularly in ourselves. We'll only look at what is not so good. And so
True, yeah.
Saras, is
that is like more than wanting sukham. I don't want to experience dukham. That is a stronger feeling. Because dukham makes me feel like this whole idea of the self that I have constructed, something is going to happen to me. So the Abhinivesha is the one which is protecting the Asmita constantly.
Saras,
So,
sorry, please go ahead.
Shruti, yeah.
This need to kind of, for all of us to look at the negatives, is it coming from a place to kind of be better and not experience that?
Yeah, also then. That's why it is important to start understanding how they are playing out in our life. What we are discussing is just one layer of it. Okay, just the tip of the iceberg. As you keep observing and you begin to understand more deeper levels and layers and the way they act, the way they make us function, behave, react, all that.
Okay. Can we go next? Group 2. Gauri, you can click on the press. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As you can see, we are the members of the Klesha Cafe, and we've had some wonderful meetings. We laughed, we discussed, and we decided upon our menu, which is presented here. So our menu has Raga, Dvesha, Asmita, and Abhinivesha. The members are Maggie, Shanti, Shobita, Monica, and Gauri. Over to Shanti for her presentation on Raga.
Here we identified few of our ragas. My good girl badge. I love appreciation. This feeling of perfect me is so perfect. I always like to be in my comfort zone. I have a craving for food sensation in the day, in the body. Next. Monica.
Thanks, Shanti. Dvesha, I don't want to face failure. I don't want hurt. I fear my fear. My self-image of Miss Perfect is very sacred to me, so touch me not. I do not like these unpleasant physical sensations. I do not like this teacher's approach. Overwork and non-participation of other stakeholders makes me resentful, and I don't like any interference in my work. Sorry?
Yes, just unmuted. Okay. Poor me. Nobody calls nobody, nobody picks up the phone, and have a chat about one's distorted version of reality that anyways no longer exists. Once there was, never a mind. Just when I was in the perfect flow, I was given a blow. Worship me or worship me. I am the greatest perfection. My mental construct is a work forever in progress. Do not create jokes around me. I do not exist. Take me seriously. I'm designed for permanent failure and discomfort, the final refuge for the absolute failure. Ishvara Pranidhana.
Abhiniveshan. Don't call me, don't leave me, but tell me I am good just the way you should. I'm happy to spin stories in the what if sphere. Until I can see it, I live in nameless fear. Back.
Conclusion? Who am I? Standing in the midst of this thought traffic, watching everything being concluded and simultaneously destroyed. Rumi and his roommate. Okay, that's the end. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
What happened to good old Avidya?
What happened to what?
Good old Avidya.
These are all Avidyas, no? All of
I
these.
guess they all come under the umbrella of Avidya.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't on the menu.
That's a good one, Shobita. It wasn't on the menu.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
just
you. Very artistic and poetic. Shall we go to the next group?
I had one question. In the Asmita, there was something like I do not exist. Why did you all say that?
The Asmita keeps, sorry for the background noise. Asmita keeps changing. So every time you identify with something, the underlying reality is that that's not something you should really identify with. There is something deeper. So it is more of a, Gauri, you can step in to add, but it was more of that kind of rhetoric statement to say, I think I exist, but I actually do not exist.
Yeah, because I don't exist. That's why I permanently keep constructing myself and want everyone to take me seriously, no? So it's like
bringing together paradoxical statements.
Yeah.
They have done it like Zen coins.
We took you seriously and made it all fun, Saras.
we took your suggestion of having fun with it very seriously. and And I must say, Maggie was the flag bearer for that, because when we started like real serious, and she was like, "But have fun, you know." Sarah said, "Have fun," and finally we did have lots of fun.
Okay, we come to the next group.
Hi, I can go. Our group is made up of me, Anindita, and Geeta. Anusha was also there, but she said she would not be able to participate. So it was us three. Let me just share the screen. Oh, okay. Anindita, you're doing it. Yeah. So, ours is the good old tree. And so we took, as usual, like all of our three statements and worked off of them. Two of our group members' statements were actually directly related to Corona and the triggers that came off that, and one other member had, not only pertaining to Corona, but it was also more generalized also. So why I'm saying that is because we can see those statements over here. So I'm just giving you a context. So starting with Avidya, so the statements such as my not being able to accept our mortality, attachment, feeling or being helpless, and external points of measuring self-worth. So when we were doing this exercise, quite a few people, others also have shared here, we saw that it was actually a little difficult to detach them, to like dissect them, because quite a few, I mean, we saw that they were almost together all the time, they were intertwined. So we have repeated statements wherever we felt they would apply. So there are repeated statements in all the 5 kleshas actually, and we saw avidya seeping out of all of this, being the like the foundation. So the fear, the sadness that we felt on when a trigger of when we heard that someone was affected by corona or something, we then, I mean, we first categorize them as dvesha, raga, and so on and so forth. But then we also recognize that it mainly comes out of our avidya of not accepting our mortality, though that is like the truth out there, like nitya. That is, we are taking something which is anitya and we're thinking that is nitya. And then we are experiencing dukham out of that. So a lot of things were born from avidya itself. And then raga and dvesha also, we saw that they are actually 2 faces of the same coin. Where there is raga, there is dvesha. And Anindita, would you zoom in on the statements a bit? Yes. Yeah, thank you. We can deal with dvesha first, and we can scroll this side for raga. Oh yeah, okay. So when we saw that when we were afraid of, when we heard about someone having corona or something, what came to us? Like first we felt sad, then we felt scared, we felt angry, we felt helpless. So a lot of that we thought that it does come from dvesha, that is an aversion to that situation. We don't want to be feeling bad. We don't want to be feeling sad. And that again comes out of raga, because we want to be feeling good. We are holding on to those memories that make us feel good. Those memories with that person, maybe when we had good memories with that person, are giving us a sense of raga over there, and that itself is again going around and creating dvesha, that we don't want to let go of those moments. In fact, we only want those moments, nothing else. So there was a fear of losing someone is on dvesha also, and in raga also. Then yeah, and then little bit to the left, towards dvesha, Anindita. I'm seeing if I've left out something. Yeah, so didn't want to think of suffering, because we don't want suffering, we want pleasure. So all these statements that are arising actually from fear, from anxiety, and from confusion. And then, so little bit to the right. Yeah, so you can see that some of those same feelings are reflected in raga also. And then raga also comes from when a person is feeling that they are complimented for something and they're feeling validated, and they're feeling good about it. And then dvesha, as the opposite face of that coin, is abhin or asmita over here, is that I like to be right and I will do anything to just be right. Again, if you come down a bit in avidya, which stems from this perception of me, asmita, is actually stemming from external points of measuring self-worth. So our whole idea or projection or perception of ourself is actually dependent on what this other person is saying about us, whether it is complimenting us, which leads to raga, or criticizing us, which leads to dvesha. But it is again so external dependent. So this asmita right now that we were feeling is very external factor dependent. Is that I don't want to suffer. I want people to feel that I'm right, I'm strong, and so on and so forth. And abhinivesha, we felt, was like a cradle that sustains all these kleshas, and we are I mean, that is the feeling that, we are aware as YITP students that, I need to be observing my emotions. I need to just see what's going on and all. But at the same time, there is a resistance to just get entangled in our emotions and be there, because I'm feeling comfortable there. I mean, if I'm feeling angry at someone, then, why should I make the effort to just observe this? So there is a abhinivesha over there that is sustaining all these kleshas. And as soon as this process of observation starts, we feel this abhinivesha sort of weakening, breaking down a bit, because then you're not able to sustain all these kleshas. I mean, the observation process itself gives you, you go a little farther from the tree, and you feel that sort of distancing from these kleshas. So this is basically what we felt, what we discussed, and what we talked about during our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. It was beautiful. I also like the way you brought the same emotion or feeling and how it has different facets to it. You can look at Raga and Dvesha and Abhinivesha and Asmita in the same. But how it expresses itself is very specific. Like in a given moment, whether I'm experiencing it as Raga or Dvesha or Abhinivesha, at least Raga and Dvesha, because they're more apparent. I want this, I don't want this. I like this, I don't like this. Yeah. Sukham Anushayi, Dukkha Anushayi. So these two are well differentiated expressions, but behind them, when I say I want this, I'm saying I want only this, which means I don't want any. Behind Raga, there is Dvesha. And like you said, I am comfortable in my entanglement. So I know that this will cause me suffering, but I am attached to it. So there is a negative attachment to the Dvesha. We think more of somebody we don't like than somebody we like. It's like how Hiranyakashipu constantly kept thinking of Krishna, or, all Kamsa kept thinking of Krishna. That there's a very, very strong attachment to what is negative, what is not okay. Typically also what is not okay within us. We get very attached to that. And that sort of dominates all the positive things that, that can actually give you sukham. We tend to be drawn towards dukkham in some way which we don't want. So I just have a few questions. When you say, I'm feeling grateful for my family, will that be what? What is that expressing as? I think you put it under dvesha. So what will that be? Feeling grateful for my family.
It might not be a
I'm also saying I want my family to be safe. Yeah.
It is Asmita. I
Yeah,
want to be safe.
Geeta, Anindita, do you want to chip in? Okay. This should have been on Raga also, because we are. We obviously it was statement again coming from the corona situation. So we were feeling grateful that we are safe, and also resenting that thing where we need to be in a bubble. We need to trap ourselves in our house like this and then feel safe about it. So that's. We are grateful for being safe, but at the same time, this is not an ideal environment. And others are also so many people are not safe. We might be safe, but so many other people are not safe. They have gone through so much pain. So you even resent your so-called privilege or something, that you can be safe.
Yeah.
You can stay in your bubble and be safe.
Yeah, but this meant, coming to just this statement, because there are many corollaries to it, right? When just looking at this statement, being grateful for the safety of my family is an Abhinivesha state. Yeah, when I say I am safe or when I say I am not safe, both are coming from Abhinivesha and a very strong component of Raga, that I am not only saying I am safe, I am grateful, I am also saying this has to endure. Yeah, Sukha Anushlai Ragaha, and that feeling safe is also an expression of Abhinivesha, not just, oh, I'm not feeling safe. Both are expressions of Abhinivesha. I think it will fall more into Ragam and Abhinivesha than Dvesha. Yeah? Even things like fear of being wrong, those are more, see, Dvesha, no? Dva means two. Dvesha is always about me and the other. Like, I am separate from you, I create the distance. Dva, one has become two. You know, when people are in love, they're always together. Then when that little separation happens, I will change my profile picture, everything, that I'm now separate from you, right? That is Dvesha. That's how it expresses itself. Okay? Dva, separation. That I'm not. Before, I cannot separate myself from you. Like, I feel like whatever is happening to you is happening to me. Whatever is happening to me is happening to me. I want you to be in Sukham because I have completely identified it. Now, there is that separation. Yeah. So just begin to see that smaller differences in which that is a Vichinna aspect, how they manifest in that moment. Behind that, all that will be there, Asmita, Abhinivesha, everything will be there. Yeah? Then feeling helpless is also like I'm not having control over the situation, right? So the Abhinivesha. You had put something about the external points in it, Avidya.
Yes.
What is it?
Anindita?
Yeah, I think it was having external points of validating like self-worth.
So that's more of an Asmita, no? That's a very it's very apparent. See, Avidya is often hidden. All this is coming from Avidya. That's the mother of everything. So because I don't see myself as this permanent pure entity. I see myself as this impermanent. I mean, I think I am pure, permanent, whatever, but actually this what I am is so deeply identified with the Prakriti, which is constantly changing. Yeah. So that is the ground. From that ground, this creating the self, which is constantly trying to meet some external expectations. So how is Asmita formed? When you're told, when you're given a name, when you're told, oh, you're a good child or not good, this is how you should be, this is how you should not be, that's when the Asmita is formed, right? So those are more Asmita related.
This is one of the things which we exactly talked about, that how we raise our children, this good girl, bad girl, that sort of thing, and ultimately how it forms, how it expresses like now,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So anything as a parent, anything that you do, even being the best parents in the world, you would have created some structures for them, right? They would grow up expecting others to be like their parents, something. So we can never say like, I am perfect.
No.
Because whether you're, goofing up or whether you're trying to be the best parent, there will always be those samskaras we have created for our children.
Very true.
So don't take that also too seriously. That idea of I am this perfect parent or I have to be this parent. We do our best and leave the rest. The other idea that came up in this group is the idea of observation, right? So that's something that we need to get into more carefully. Look at this whole, what is this observation? Because very often I look at my narratives, I look at how I behave, and what comes up very strongly is my judge and the need for me to categorize myself. Now I am having this, now I am having that, now I am this, now I am that. Right? Observation goes beyond it. Observation is not what you observe, is not how you observe, but from where you observe becomes very important. So if I am located in a space that is much deeper within me, then my observation is in all possibility not getting trapped in this idea of shoulds and musts, and again not getting colored so much with the raga dvesha aspects. Because the moment I observe something, I'm already saying not good enough. I observe that my hands are not reaching the floor in Uttanasana, not good enough. My back is so stiff. I can't do perfect Uttanasana. Yeah. Immediately that comes up. That is not observation. Observation is simply that my hand, when I'm bending down, my hand is not touching. That's all. So anything else apart from that is not an observation. So to be able to differentiate between what is an observation and what is not an observation is also important. Because our whole work as teachers depends on observation. How I observe myself is how I will observe the other. And to also know, our default setting is observation is always colored by the kleshas. So to be aware of it, I'm not saying now you have to rule out everything. Just be aware that there are several overlays to it. Yeah. Can we go to the next group?
I'll present next. This is Shilpi.
How many groups are there, Arthi? 5 groups, no?
Yeah, 6 groups, I think. I'll just carry on.
6 groups. So we have 3 more groups to close. Okay. 5 groups.
Just a second.
Shall we go to the 4th group?
5 groups, 5 groups.
Okay, group number 4.
So my group is Medha, Bhovana, Khatija, and myself. I'll just share the screen. I think Bhovana couldn't make it today for the class. Is my screen visible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We went through discussion over this. I think we forgot to have fun while we were doing this because it was a little intense. And I'm sorry for the noise currently. So we had like 3 negative trigger point experiences. One of us had a positive point experience, but the person went through these kleshas. You know, even though the person felt that this was a nice, happy experience, but on discussion, we realized the kleshas that the person experienced. COVID-related experiences and its impact was also shared to explore this further by us. Some of us in between shared a few experiences to understand the kleshas at a deeper level. So in raga, being attached to pleasures to please the self, desires are what we understand can cause suffering, but some spiritual Buddhist practice also say that desires lead to enlightenment. So we're just trying to understand the basic of what desires can do. Wanting to please the ego was the underlying state of ourself. As per the triggered experience, two of us experienced validation and need to please others. Dvesha. So in this, aversion to anything that rattles me, strong likes, dislikes, avoidance. Being in a comfort zone was the underlying state of being. As per the triggered experiences, facing truths I'm not ready to hear yet, do not want to accept the truth, do not want to be bothered going through the process of explaining myself, when we take decisions, because we find it energy draining, or we find a lot of time goes into it. Avoid facing conflict when we have to explain our decisions. Internal anxiousness, unpredictability of the situation I was caught in without having any role to play in creating the situation. Sometimes we just are somewhere and we're caught in a situation that we didn't think will turn into. Didn't want to face the same situation ever again till I knew how to handle it better. Abhinivesha, or need to protect yourself. Fear was the underlying state in our discussion. As per the triggered experiences, fear of facing conflict, facing the truth, being further triggered and then losing control of saying something irrational. Other people's opinion as to what will they think of me, how will they perceive it. Need for protection of energy that gets consumed if the situation keeps recurring. One of us also expressed that the body kept getting smaller in that situation, so I could be a little more invisible and not attract attention. Breath was affected. My breathing got a lot shallower and more sped up. Asmita, false identity. Ego was the underlying state in our discussion. The triggered experiences made us feel like taking control, being judgmental of our own self, and being judgmental of others. Thank you.
Thank you. Very clearly presented. I want you to remember the statement, earthly desires lead to enlightenment. When we come to one of the sutras later, we can come back to the statement. Then somebody has to remind me later. So some of these statements you shared for, I think, Dvesha, and what you shared for Abhinivesha were sort of overlapping, no? For example, avoid facing conflict.
Yes.
So the conflict can be that I don't like what this person is doing or saying, yeah, but I'm not able to bring it up. I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to face that. I don't want to even address that or engage with that. Yeah. But what is actually the stronger expression is I want to avoid it. So that is more of an expression of Abhinivesha, that I need to protect myself in this form. So I'm trying to avoid that conflict, and which is also coming in the Abhinivesha, I think. Then internal anxiousness, didn't want to face. All that is more the expression of Abhinivesha than Dvesha. Dvesha's expression is one that will clearly separate me from the other. Yeah. Then when coming to Asmita, I think using the words false identity, ego, all that, if we can avoid, it is better, because it's immediately creating certain different pictures and associations in the mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Abhinivesha, I mean, Asmita is simply, this is who I am, this idea of myself that I have got identified with. That's the identity. What we call false identity, we don't know. Ultimately, it is false, but until we discover that, that's the identity, right? So, any amount of work that we do with these statements, no, is to help us to identify all the aspects of avidya, but the statement itself will point out to a certain expression of avidya. That's what that word vichina means. It doesn't mean that at the same time I can express raga and dvesha and abhinivesha. One expression becomes dominant and the others are lurking behind. So to identify, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're identifying something as raga or dvesha. Ultimately, everything is avidya. But it is for us to understand what these words mean for us. That is the exercise we are doing. We are trying to name something. Naming something does not mean we have understood it. Okay. Naming is simply the first level of understanding. When I am stating something to say, oh, this is an expression of raga, I'm only learning to name it as raga. Does not mean that I have understood what is raga. I'm trying to see if I'm making myself clear or whether I'm making myself clear, right? Naming something does not mean that I have understood it. I'm just learning it. Yeah, you say A for apple. I'm learning to name an object as apple. Does not mean that I have understood the apple very well. And when I taste the apple, I have a certain experience of that apple. Whether it's a Kashmir apple, whether it is a Ooty apple, whether it is an Australian apple or a green apple or a red apple or a hybrid. Now, each one is different. Each one is experienced different. Naming it, that's only the first layer that we are trying to look at. The first level is naming something. The 12th or the 13th level when you understand Satyam. So there are many layers. So don't worry too much about not getting it. Just learning to name it is what we are trying to do. It's like in allopathy, no? You have a certain diagnosis and we think we have understood the condition. So this person has this condition. A lot of therapists say, okay, now what to do for this condition? But that is only naming the condition. It's like you're given a name. I know what your name is, but do I know you? By knowing your name, can I say that I know you? Yeah? That naming is what we're trying to do. Even there is many layers to it. Can we go to we have two more groups, no?
Yeah, we have two more.
The body feeling smaller, that's a very beautiful expression. Like, can I become invisible? What is that? It's both the asmita and the abhinivesha. Asmita that carries a very strong abhinivesha. I want to be invisible. I don't even want to be seen. So by being invisible, I will be safe.
Yeah, actually.
Sorry?
Sorry. No, please go ahead.
No, when we used to attend the Yoga Sutra class with the Eskachar, very often it will be discussions. Okay, he'll start a discussion and he will call names and he'll say, what do you think about it? What is this? What is this? And then, like, nobody wants to look at him. We want to pretend like we are very serious. We are writing something. We want to be invisible. We don't want to be seen there so that our name is called out. But it doesn't really matter. Whatever games we play, if he wants to call out your name, he will call out your name. Right? And you have to, then all come to Abhinivesha. Oh, how am I seen? Will I be called? Will I make a fool of myself? Am I going to say something? Am I going to please my teacher? Will I say something that he wants to hear? And we are often thinking, what is the answer he wants from me? That's what I want to say. I'm not thinking about what have I understood. Right? Everything is there. That ragam, that I am very attached to this idea that I have to please my teacher. The dvesha is I don't want to displease. Yeah. The abhinivesha is I want to feel safe in this space. Asmita is who am I seen as? By my teacher, by the people around. I hope that's not happening here.
Just go off video, Saras.
Just go off video. Then you can become invisible. Right?
So there are two groups.
Tara is here. Tara, are you here?
Yeah, Saras.
Yeah. When we were teaching this MIT students, Yitp, most of them will go off video. We don't even know whether they are there or not. So when we want to ask a question, we'll call out the names who are not in the video. So we can still do that. Yeah. Yeah, RK, you had a question.
No, we have two groups. One of the group, only Zara is present. The other members are not on the screen. So do you have a presentation, Zara?
I was, these groups were created in the last week's class. I didn't attend last week's class.
Okay.
So,
okay. So then we have only one group, which is the group that I am in. I'm just going to screen.
So what was, who were there in that group, the fifth group?
That's Kavya.
I have no idea, nobody.
I have the list here.
Okay.
That's Kavya, Hema, Mahesh, Devika, and Zara.
Kavya, is Kavya here?
No, I checked already. None of them are there other than Zara.
Devika was here.
What?
She's gone.
The third person?
She's left already. Devika's left.
Kavya, Hema, Mahesh. Kavya, Hema, Mahesh, Zara, and Devika.
Okay, come to the sixth group then.
Yeah. I'll share the screen.
I think, Saras, your
Zara,
internet is
you
freezing.
were not there.
I was not there in the last class and I didn't know about this presentation.
Saras, your screen seems to be frozen.
Yeah, it's freezing in between. That's what I was trying to say. I can't even hear sometimes.
Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Saras, you were saying something we couldn't hear. You're on mute, Saras.
No, I was asking Zahra. Zahra, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. You did not attend last week.
No, last class I was not
Yeah,
present.
but you got a recording, no? So what we expect is if you miss a session, that you go through the recording before you come for the next session. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll do that.
Yeah. Group number 6.
Yeah. I'll just share the screen.
Ah, that's a huge tree.
That's how huge all those kleshas are, I guess, in all of us.
They're beautiful also, no? They're very beautiful.
Yeah. The team consists of Surabhi, Shweta, and myself. We also had one more member. He couldn't join. And that is, just a second. That is Amit. Amit couldn't join. So he couldn't join us because he was in some pre-committed assignments, engagements. So the three of us went through the discussions. First, to assure you, Saras, we really had fun.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. We went through all those reflective points. And then Raga, as you just now said, I'm just realizing that we're just naming. Raga, I'm wanting to hold on to comfort zone and freedom. Me and mine should always be safe. I'm expecting a positive outcome always, was what we were touching with Raga. So then we went deeper to find out where is this coming from. And then it's coming from a preference to stay in a comfort zone for myself, wanting always to be in control. Me and mine seems to come all the time. All the time it's me and mine, that ownership. Attachment to a desired outcome. It's not just facing an outcome. In Raga, it is a specific desired outcome all the time. I need a specific desired outcome. Yeah. Then seeking to repeat the pleasure. I had an ice cream, I want that ice cream again. I had a pleasant feeling, I want that pleasant feeling again. So those were the deeper place from where we were coming with those reflections in the inputs that came up. Dvesha. I'm not wanting to experience the pain and uncomfortable situations again. I'm surely not wanting to be in a helpless situation or a hands-tied situation. These came from not wanting to undergo pain again and again. I'm looking to get away from uncomfortable situations. How can I escape? I can't handle helpless situations which result in unpleasant experiences. And also, I'm resisting to any change where I'm not sure of a pleasant outcome. Abhinivesha. I'm submerged in the fear of unknown. Underlying fear. There's like a nerve that is going through me, which is giving that fear. And I'm feeling anxiety and pain without knowing where it is coming from and any reason to attach to that fear. I'm looking at everything that with some underlying fear. Everything that is around me, I'm having an underlying fear. Now I'm just getting in touch with some share in this place. I'm feeling anxiety and pain, as I said, without being able to converge on something specific. And all these are coming from, I want to be safe. The fear itself is coming from, I want to be safe. Asmita, it's me versus the other. And I'm ahead of a situation or context. It is this Asmita which is taking me, making me feel that I'm always ahead of anything around me. It is that Asmita which is making me like a doll with threads and making me dance around. So it comes from a self-created identity for myself. Me ahead of the context. Surabhi, Shweta, do you want to add anything?
So I would just add a little bit for the very first screen picture which you have seen of the tree. Earlier we chose something else and it had some labels, but when we were discussing through all these topics, we realized that everything is so intermingled together and has such a strong presence that it is not possible in our understandings to isolate and label. So we just left the tree as a strong presence. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarvi. Shweta,
Nothing from me, RK. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you, RK, Surabhi, and Shweta.
Thank you, Sarvi.
The pictures are beautiful, and I like the way that you have presented it in a very simple way. Thank you.
Can I request all teams to share their presentations in the group because it was all beautiful. It will be nice to just go through the
Yeah, yeah.
It was being put up on Canvas, no, initially, but only one presentation has been put up.
I think you can submit it on Canvas and it can be shared through the files. Shipra, just make a note. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
can we just take a break, like a 10-minute break and come back? Yeah. Presenting week. The group that missed presenting this week can present next week. Yeah. And because Hema is not there in the group, if anybody else from the other groups wants to join to support this group to complete the work, that will be good. Yeah.
Do we upload these presentations someplace in the Canvas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Will there be a place created for us, like an assignment, so we upload or some such thing?
I'll ask Pushkala to create. Yeah. Shipra, can you just?
I've made a note of it. I'll inform Pushkala.
Okay. Now, I just want you to take just maybe 5 minutes to write down your key learnings from this whole presentation. What did you learn from this? Okay, just 5 minutes. Put it down. And then we'll move on to the next session.
Hi, Saras. Did I miss something? I just logged in.
So just take 5 minutes to put down your key learnings from this session.
Okay. Thank you.
Saras, you had used one word for Asmita, no? When you said it is the self, or you said something.
The sense of self. Asmi bhavaha. Yes, I am this feeling, whatever I am, dash, dash, dash. That feeling is Asmita. It's almost like the basis of your existence, how you define yourself. Done? So we're now going to switch gears to practice.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Saras, do you have a minute?
Yes.
On Dvesha, we had a question. For example, imagine I used to drink a lot, imagine, and I got unwell and the doctor said, don't drink. Now, I developed kind of fear to drinking, and I keep away from it, and I do everything possible to stay away from drinking. Is that a Dvesha on drinks, or is it raga on life?
It is, so if I develop a fear that I might fall sick or I might die if I drink, yeah, then it's
No, I
abhinivesha.
might suffer, not just
I
death.
might suffer. So I don't want to suffer. Therefore, I keep away from. So one is that my whole attachment to not wanting to suffer, right? So the dvesha is towards the suffering. It is not towards the drink. I still might love it, but I have to keep away from it to protect myself. So that won't, sometimes that dvesha can happen. Like, sometimes you have, yeah, to some extent you can call it dvesha also. Like it's the aversion that you develop because it's going to cause you pain, or it might cause you pain. I remember my nephew, when he was very young, he had some kind of allergies towards chocolates. And so we told him, if you're going to eat chocolate, you're going to have these problems. You have to be careful. So I remember once he came running back from a neighbor's house with something in his mouth, and he said, and then he wanted to spit it out, and it was a piece of chocolate that they had given him, and out of politeness, he had taken it, maybe forgotten. And then he was so afraid that it might make him fall sick. Okay, and that was very short-lived. After some time, the problem went away, the fear also goes away. So that's more, it's not so much dvesha, it's more of the abhinivesha, that I need to protect myself. Now, like if you are allergic to something, right? You might not hate it, but you know that it is not good for you, so you might keep away from it. It need not come out of vairagyam also. It may simply be that you don't want to suffer. That's it.
Thank you, Saras.
Saras, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So in 2.9, you had explained last time something about dvesha. There are some dveshas which can also be raga, and some ragas which also become your dvesha. So for example, as I understood it, that I create my own persona, and then I work hard at, work hard that everyone sees me like that. If I feel that it's getting deviated, or someone is kind of penetrating through that self-image of mine, that creates a lot of fear in me. And I kind of identified it as my dvesha. Is that correct?
That's your asmita. what is that form that you have created of yourself? It's your Rasmita. And the energy that's needed to protect it is the Abhinivesha. But the Asmita is expressing itself as that I am now this person. I want to be seen as this person. So you're attached to a certain form of you that needs to be seen, reinforced, reaffirmed, right? Which means the other side of it, which is probably other than what you want to be seen as, you have dvesha towards it. You don't want to be seen. Suppose I want to be seen as a kind person. I don't want anybody to see me as an unkind person. Right? So that the tendency for me to be unkind can be something I hide. And when it is seen by me, I develop dvesha towards that form of me, which can also be unkind. So that is, I develop dvesha towards myself.
Right. Okay.
I cannot be unkind.
Saras, that is so deep. And just for example that you spoke about RK also, sometimes we can develop resentment towards the things that we like also because we can't have it, like towards alcohol or towards somebody's love that you're not getting it. You like that person, you're not getting it, so you can develop resentment, like these things are like so deeply.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is not the object. Very often we attach it to an external object. That's the first level when we are engaging with this. Invariably, I have dvesha towards this or raga towards this. But there is a part of me that is getting attached, a part of me that is getting averse to it, right? That is what I have to begin to see. So what form of me is attached to this? Like if I am attached to this idea of being a good teacher, let's say, yeah. So I am a good teacher is my Asmita. So whatever will help me be seen as a good teacher, I am attached to those. Whatever doesn't help me to see myself as a good teacher, I am averse to it. So it is not about this person or that person or this situation or that situation. Those are what we see at a peripheral level. That's why I said naming something is not understanding it. Just be with it. Don't try to grasp it with your mind. Just observe and try to understand it because it's very, very layered. So many layers.
Yeah. It's like
just look at it with curiosity. That's all.
Yeah. Can I ask something?
Yeah.
So if this is what I'm understanding. If all of this is say self-generated, the fears are created by self, raga dvesha is created by self, then who are we then really under all of this? When we also read that we need to be our true nature. How does one even start lifting up these millions of veils, which are not like one or two, but it's really everything interconnected with each other? Where is that point that we are out of all of this, and where do we really find our real selves without these layers? Does that point ever come? I mean, if you're not a sadhu or a yogi or something, where is this? I mean,
where is this question coming from? Where is this question coming from, Dana? Can you look at that?
Just the question is coming from a place of sometimes being so entangled with all of this and trying to naming I felt was a way of at least coming close to understanding that this is what the situation is. When you name it, at least there is a name for it. But then
so then what is making you ask about that ultimate state? Where is that coming from?
Because these feelings that I'm naming are there today, gone tomorrow. This is if I'm not my emotion, and if I'm not my feeling, which I feel on a day-to-day or a minute-to-minute basis, then what am I, and who am I, and what I'm just
So that's a good question to be with. I hope you're not looking for an answer. I can't give you. Right? That's a question that we stay with. To come to that question and Say, if I am not this, then who am I? That is exploration.
Can I say something?
Okay, sorry. I want you to hold your questions, Surabhi. Can you hold it for one more week? Reflect on it.
Yeah.
Because all these questions, you will find some direction. Okay? But if we want all these questions to be answered by somebody else, sometimes you lose the thrill of that exploration. So just hold the question. Or if you can't hold it, next week we will talk about it. Okay. I want to move on to asana. So for a yoga teacher, because you're now getting into your teaching, your observation classes and all that, two things are absolutely essential. You can look at them as skills that you need to develop, practices that you need to get better and better and refine yourself with. Also a state of being. Okay. One is the ability to observe, the other is the ability to listen. These two are absolutely essential for all of us. Because we are not working with machines, we are going to be working with human beings, people who come to us with certain needs, with certain problems. And our ability to listen with a mind that is not superimposed by too many ideas, thoughts, emotions, judgments, and not confused is very important. And the ability to observe with a fresh mind. These two are very, very essential. Okay? So when you're listening to a student, to observe how you're listening. And the listening process and the observation process is all encompassing. You're not only listening to that one person, yeah, to what they're saying. Maybe they're saying something, they're not saying something. So you're listening also to what is happening to you. So it includes the subject and the object. Similarly, observation is about observing the person that you have chosen to observe, also observing yourself in the whole process. But first we look at just observing the individual doing an asana. Okay. Just want to get into the modification aspect. So first level of modification is what you will learn to do perhaps in a group class. So you want to teach the group Uttanasana. Okay. So you give them, as you inhale, raise your arms from the front. As you exhale, bend forward to the floor, touch the floor, or see if you can really stretch yourself down to the floor. Now, most often, people who don't know much about yoga and all that, the body will modify. They don't have to do much. Yeah. So if they can't really stretch the arms like this, they will stretch it like this. Maybe one will be like this, one will be like this. Maybe one hand will go back like this because there is restriction. Yeah. And the way they bend, if they want to touch the floor, they may bend their knees, or they may do some way in which the body automatically will modify. Now, there also, you have to see whether it is something that is efficient or whether that's something that can harm the person. For example, if somebody is trying to stretch in Paschimottanasana, and because they believe Paschimottanasana, the forehead should touch the neck, if they overstrain the neck to touch, that is something that they may be doing naturally, but it may not be something that is very efficient. It may also cause harm, right? So you need to help them modify it more efficiently. So first level of modification is taking into account what limitations or restrictions that are already there in the body. One is naturally the body will modify. There won't be much harm. But if the person is forcing the body modify in a certain way, sometimes cause harm. So as a teacher, you need to learn to observe it and correct it. You may not be able to correct it in a group class. You can't point out and say, oh, Shruti, don't do this. Maggie, don't do this. What is it going to do to their asmita? Yeah, it is going to wake up the asmita and make them feel like, oh, now I'm cornered. Yeah. So you can't do it in a group class. You may have to give general instructions or give your instruction in such a way that they listen and they can self-modify. In in-person class, you may always quietly go near the person and tell them, just do it this way, it's better. Yeah. The second thing, so first level is you need to know why are they not able to do the classical, where are the restrictions in the body. To some extent, I'm not saying like you need to absolutely know where the problem is, but have some idea. At least you know that they're not able to bend well because the legs are tight or the hips are tight or the lower back is very tight. Yeah, or they're not able to stretch because of tightness in the upper back or maybe the shoulders, or maybe they don't get the technique right sometimes. People think it is enough if I do this, but they can do this. But some people can do this, but they'll tighten up this whole area and bring the head forward. So even if they can, they shouldn't do it. Yeah, because it can further tighten. So first level is to understand through observation, where is the restriction? Why is that somebody is not able to do it closer to the classical? Okay, that through observation you need to learn. Second thing is, what is the function I want to achieve for this person? So my function for Uttanasana may be to stretch the spine and not the legs. Okay. For somebody else, I may want them to stretch their legs, and I am not too much worried about the spine. So what is the function I want to achieve for this person is important. Somebody else, it may be I want to work on the digestion or the lower abdomen contraction. Somebody else, I want them to exhale better and totally relax their body. I don't care about their Uttanasana. I want them to relax their body in Uttanasana. So based on what function you want to achieve, the modification will vary. Right? So this is going to the second step, or looking at how do we do it in a one-on-one setting, knowing the restriction and then knowing what function to achieve, and then modifying according to. So we will only look at these 3 steps today. Okay. One is identifying where the problem is, to whatever extent we can. Okay. I'm not talking about a thorough examination. Second is, what function do I want to achieve for this person? Then the third step is, how do I now modify the posture for this person? Okay. So I want a volunteer. Renal? Okay.
Saras, can you just repeat those 3 objectives? What is the problem? How can I?
So why do you need to modify? Where is the problem? Because there is a modification that's required. Where is the issue? Okay, identifying the restriction. Number 2, what is the function I want to achieve? The function can be related to the restriction also. Function can be, I want to reduce the stiffness in the legs or the back. Or the function can be something apart from that. Yeah, for which I have chosen this posture. So even if there is restriction, I can still achieve the function if I know what I want to achieve. And for that, I modify. Yeah? So these 2 can be dependent on each other, or it can be independent. Okay, so Mrunal, just want to do a few observations. Shipra, can you pin Mrunal, and all of you can pin her so you can observe more carefully.
Should I stand up?
Saras, can you see Mrinal now? She's been pinned a picture.
I am not. How do I do that?
Can everybody see Mrinal?
Yeah, I mean, I have pinned by myself. If you go to the right-hand corner of that picture of Mrinal, it will say pin. 3 dots.
As a host, no, you might want to spotlight.
I'll spotlight.
Not in spotlight.
No, I'm using my iPad, so I don't know.
No, the host has to spotlight it.
Yeah,
Spotlight for everyone.
I'll do that. Okay.
Chipra, have you spotlighted Mrinal? Because I'm not able to see her on the screen.
Just doing it there.
Hmm.
Yes.
Can you all see?
Yeah, now we can.
Rinal, we need to see you. Don't know if you can see. Top. Yeah. Okay. So just do a regular Tadasana. Just do the Tadasana in your arms, from your sides. Can you hear me?
Voice is breaking sometimes, Saras.
Oh.
Saras, your video is also freezing and the voice is also breaking.
Oh, let me just take off. Okay. Okay. It's better now.
Yes, Saras, it is better.
Okay. So, Mrinal, can you, I think her image is frozen on my screen. Okay. Can you face the bed? Just turn and face the bed. Okay, now raise your arms and go down to Uttanasana. Okay, now come to Ardha Uttanasana. Arms forward. Okay. Go down to Uttanasana and then come up and back to Samasthiti. Can you do Utkatasana? Not Ardha Utkatasana, full Utkatasana. Ah. Come up. Okay, now face me, face the camera, and do Prasarita Pada Uttanasana. Wider than this. Okay, come up. Navasana. Can you do it from the beginning? Navasana, how do you do it from the Samasthiti position? So I was not able to see, I'm only seeing the last position. So did you start with your hands down? How did you do it? Yeah, that's number one. Then you raise the arms, no, to Dandasana, and then you lower the arms and do it. So start with the Dandasana. My screen is frozen again. Yeah. Now, as you lower the arms parallel to the floor, lift your legs up on exhalation. That is Namaste. And arms parallel to the floor. Stretch your arms forward. Okay. Paschimottanasana. What posture will I choose for you, Mrinal? What posture do you want to work with?
What posture do I want to work with?
Hmm.
Navasana was a little bit challenging. I was feeling shivering in my.
Yeah, I saw that your legs were also bent slightly.
Slight shiver.
Utkatasana, Saras.
Pardon?
Utkatasana, full squat.
I noticed the Utkatasana, but I don't think it's something that one can reach up to if the body structure is like that. Some people cannot do Utkatasana beyond this. Were you able to do it before Utkatasana, the full Utkatasana? Mrinal?
Yes.
You were able to do before. Okay. So then we'll take Utkatasana. Yeah. So the first step will be how will you modify Utkatasana for Mrinal so that she can go fully down. We saw that she was not going fully down. Okay. And so where is the restriction? Number one. Then how will you modify it? And what will be the function that you want to choose for Utkatasana? Why Utkatasana? So can we look at the first thing? Where is the restriction? Can you do the Utkatasana once more? People can watch. Okay, so how will you modify this? Where is the restriction?
Hips and perhaps back of the lower back.
Hamstrings. Lower back?
Knees and quadriceps.
I think the legs are tight.
You saw her Uttanasana. You saw her Prasarita Pada Uttanasana. You saw her Paschimottanasana. Right?
Probably the hips and the
Probably the knees.
I feel it's knees.
I think it's the hips. It's the flexibility of the hips and the balance, sense of balance between the hips and the feet.
So the hips.
In the Paschimottanasana, she was able to completely go down very well.
Yeah.
And so is the case in the Uttanasana. So I am more oriented to go towards the knees that are restricting her.
So the restriction could be with the combination of the hip and the ankle.
Hip and the
Now, yeah. Now, what is the function you want to achieve? So let us say you want to use Utkatasana. Number one, why would you want to use Utkatasana for her? Okay. What is the function you want to achieve? And then how will you modify the Utkatasana? She, of course, modified it herself. And you saw how she modified it. Is there a different way by which you can modify? And what will be the function for which you will modify? It's a little tough case because she's mostly flexible. She's mostly able to do most of the postures classically.
tilting the legs a little while going down.
So you want to reduce the restriction in the hip and the ankles by opening the legs slightly. Yeah, okay. Then what function you want to achieve for her in Utkatasana?
Hip mobility only.
Greater stretch of lower back hip area. And I think some limitation is there in quadriceps, which may get a fuller stretch with feet a little apart.
I am not so sure about specific muscle groups you're talking about. You can say, yeah, definitely having the feet apart can relax the hips a little bit. What else can you do? But what is the main thing you want to achieve in Utkatasana?
Hips.
If she tries to go down a little more, okay, what could happen is her back will bend forward, right? But in Utkatasana, you want to keep the spine straight so that the breathing is comfortable. So then how would you achieve it?
What about a support at the back to the wall or something like that, so that she can?
Very interesting. Okay, Mridal, can you try that? Utkatasana with the wall behind you.
Suggest you step a little further so that your back continuously touches the wall.
Saras, automatically her heels are going up, no?
Heels are going up.
So I think good modification can be to keep a little blanket or a cushion under the heels when she is starting the posture, so that her heels are generally lifted when she's doing the posture.
Okay, can you try that, Mrina? Can you roll a mat or something under your heels? So RK, with this, what's happening is the work is, see, she is quite a fit, strong person. Okay, when she's asked to do this, you're taking away an important function of the posture. So when she's coming up, leaning against the wall, the function of the strength to the lower part of the body and the upper back will get lost because she's using the wall to go down and come. Yeah. So taking away the function is not also a good idea. Okay, so this is one possibility. That now she's able to go a little more down because of the heels being supported.
And
Are you able to raise your arms in this position? Keep your arms up, locked.
If the feet can be a little wider, I think there'll be more stability.
Yeah, can you come up? Then open your legs a little more. Yeah. See, ideally, the support has to be something firm, not like a soft cushion. Something like a rolled mat or
a towel.
Carpet or something. Where is the strain, Runal, in this?
Heel up is more stressful because the entire front of the foot is now bearing the entire weight.
Yeah.
So that is
all the weight is going to the front of the foot, probably to the knees. And so to shift the weight back and lift up is difficult. So
what helped was the distance between the feet. It helped me go down much more and make
Go
me
down,
stable
yeah.
if the feet were together. The back on the
Yeah.
wall was not helpful at all because then it wasn't Utkatasana. My whole spine was resting. It was like just sitting down.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything in that. But
Yeah.
the heel raise is definitely more stressful on the foot and the quad and the entire thigh as well. While the distance helps, not the heel.
But is it because of the soft pillow, Runal? Because sometimes when you use something too soft, no, it's of no use. Like if you can.
No, even if I put something very hard, then probably it will help if I not go fully down. Because the entire foot, if the heel is lifted, the entire pressure is on this side of the foot. And maybe if I do Ardha Uttanasana only with the heel up, then that will help more in creating straightening, more straighter back, more able to breathe better, lesser pressure on the foot. Should I try that, Saras? Half Uttanasana on the...
That is,
or how about
Sorry, Ardha Utkatasana.
Just a quick thing, Manal. When you are spacing out your feet, which part of your legs do you feel more stretched after spacing out the feet? Is there any different experience in the stretching of the legs or back?
If the heel is up, the front
No,
of
not up. Heel is fully down. There is a little spacing between the feet. Quads.
Except the hip muscle.
That feels more stretched.
Engaged. What I found most engaged was the lower back and the thigh muscle, the quadriceps.
How about using the bed for a support when coming down at the level of, like when you come down, your arms are in the front in Utkatasana. Instead of having them, if the bed is there to rest, will it allow your hip to go further down?
You want me to place my hand on the bed instead, is it?
Yeah, so do it closer to the bed, facing the bed. And as you come down, keep the hands on the bed because they seem to be at the level. I would have suggested a desk or a stool.
And still maintain the cushion and the distance between my feet, or I remove the support under my heel?
No support under the heel, just the regular thing. You can keep your feet away if that is helpful. Maybe a little closer. Yeah.
This is much
better. Are your heels on the floor?
Can't see. Can you?
See, your back is much more. If you go a little more closer to the bed, so your back can be straighter. You start from the beginning. Start from Samasthiti. Raise your arms on inhale. Exhale, go down. Okay, now place your hands on the bed. Place your hands on the bed.
Palms.
Place your hands on the bed. Yeah. Now raise your arms and come up. Yes. So this is a good modification, right? It's helping you to go down into Utkatasana fully. It's helping you to keep your back reasonably straight. It is also helping you to come up and therefore use the strengthening aspect of the posture quite well. Yeah.
I didn't really use much of the bed for support. My hands were just there, but I came up with my own.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So you're not using the bed. So it's helping you with the strengthening aspect. Do you have flat feet? Are your feet flat or no? Okay. Any other modification?
I have a question from Rinal. Like now it is a third or fourth or fifth iteration that we are seeing. So in a general practice, do you see that you generally go down further on iterations.
Further on iterations.
Yeah,
with all of
like the first time your
More
hip was
number of
really
times.
higher, but now it's going down. But so, I mean, it happens to all of us that when we iterate, we do it better. So I just wanted to ask you that.
Also the first Utkatasana, if I do this 2-3 times with coordinating the breath, I mean,
No, just general Utkatasana, classical.
Yeah, with the hands
Now
full.
try again. What she's saying now, try again the general Utkatasana. Now you got it? Okay, this is more like somewhere between Ardha Utkatasana and Utkatasana. It's not Utkatasana. Okay, come up.
I have a question for Minal Saras. Can I ask her?
Yeah.
So Minal, when you are doing this for the way that just now you did the Utkatasana, and when you were doing with the placing the palm on the bed, where exactly you felt the function for your spine? Like, how did you feel the spine? Like just now what you were doing, where you felt in the spine, and when you were actually completely gone down, what was happening to your spine?
When I felt in the lower back, I felt in the tailbone, this entire.
When you were sitting down completely.
I was sitting
So
down.
what was the sensation like? What was it a relaxed one? What was it a more of?
There was a slight stretch, a slight sense of discomfort, but there was
Okay.
also more. I found my quadriceps, my feet, my legs working more in the lower back, really. So it was really working on the legs far more. And I think in Utkatasana, it's very difficult to keep your back completely straight, right? Going down, there is going.
So when you just now did with the half a little bit up, what at that point where you were feeling it, was it more on the legs, on your knees, or on your back?
It was more on the legs, on my thighs.
That's what I wanted.
More active. It was more active when I was slightly up. If I sit down completely, then the more challenges for the ankle, then it feels like the ankle, because then you're really balancing, stabilizing, the entire weight is on the ankle. The little bit midway, should I do the whole thing sitting down completely?
No. Just wanted to check with you where you were actually feeling it in both the way, because when you're doing it just now, what you did, I can sense there was more pressure coming around your spine, also in the mid back area. You were holding the weight against that part of the spine. That was I'm checking with you where you were actually sensing it. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay, so now you have a sense of what we are looking at, no? The steps. One is to understand where the restriction is, which we may not fully understand it, but at least have a starting point. Then look at the way the person is modifying. Is it really serving the function? And what is the function I want to serve? And how to serve it with the right modifications. So for you, right now, it looks like the bed seems to be a good option because your spine is reasonably straight. And then when you raise your arms and come up, you will actually use your legs and your upper back to come up. Yeah. So that will give you the strengthening aspect. And as you, I'm not sure that as you continue to do this, you'll be able to do a perfect Utkatasana, but this is better than the previous one. Ardha Utkatasana, you will be comfortable because you have enough strength and flexibility. Utkatasana requires a different kind of flexibility, the combination of the hip and the ankle. Yeah.
But Saras,
which will impact the spine position. So if your spine is too rounded, it doesn't help because your breath will get restricted. Yeah. And your spine obviously cannot be absolutely straight. It will be at an angle, but it can't be too round.
Yeah, so what's the function that, so like here we have identified that her modifications are holding the bed or a stool and feet apart. But then what was the function?
What? No, she will get all the functions that Utkatasana will serve because she's able to do Utkatasana. except that she's not keeping her arms up, right?
Right.
So the flexibility of the ankle, the flexibility of the knee, because it's a complete flexion of the knee, complete flexion of the hips with the knees bent. So she's getting that full stretch, and her spine is reasonably straight, so breathing will be good. And she's able to raise herself up with the spine straight. She doesn't have to push the hip back and push the body forward to come up. So the strengthening of the legs, the knees, the thighs, the knees, and the upper back will happen, and the lower back will happen as she's coming up. So all the functions will be served.
Saras, here she's not using the weight of the bed, right? I mean,
No, she's not. She's just using it to keep her back straight. That's all. Keeping the feet apart is also a key modification for her. It will help to relax the lower back and the hips.
My case, that helped me the most.
Utkatasana requires different kind of flexibility of the hip compared to the forward bend postures like Paschimottanasana. Okay. Thank you, Mrinal. So now, Shipra, can you do the breakout rooms?
Yes,
And
sir.
each group, how many teachers are there, mentors?
So there are 4 of them. So I've made 4 rooms, and with 4 in 3 rooms and 4 in 1 room. So 5 students in 3 rooms, 4 students in 1 room with 1 mentor each.
I'm not able to hear you. You have 5 mentors?
We have 4 mentors, so that's why I made 4 rooms. 3 rooms have 5 students. 1 room has 4 students with 1 mentor in each.
Saras, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think my connection is a little poor. Can you make the number of groups as the number of mentors are there? And each group can work with 1 person with 1 posture. Go through the steps, make the classical, find out where the restriction is, what is the function to serve, how to modify. Okay, and the group can make it just
1 minute, Saras.
come back.
Saras, 1
5
minute.
to 12, about 20-25 minutes.
Saras, I think all the instructions all are coming in. At least I'm hearing them as very like broken.
Yeah.
So 1 minute. Is there a better way? Maybe one of either.
So let me call.
We'll type it out and put it down, and then let them break out.
Uttara, I have sent you a message.
Yeah, listening to it.
Can be so
Uttara, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just going to type it out in this common chat to everybody. Okay.
Yes. So the rooms are ready, Uttara. We have 4 rooms.
Just to double check. Yeah. As many rooms there are teachers, mentors.
Yes. 1 in each room.
That's done already.
Yes.
I think actually put all of us in groups. And broadcast the common question or whatever the work has to be done. Okay.
Should I make like room number 1, room number 2? You'll know.
Take them off into groups so that at least they can say hi and all to each other while I just type this out, and then it can be a broadcast message.
Okay.
So Tara, you can hear me?
I'm calling you up. Broadcast. Shipra.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. This message that I put in the common chat, no? Copy paste it.
Okay.
And put it in a broadcast message so every group can see it. And also include Parivriti Trikonasana as a choice of a posture.
Yeah.
So now I have to go into some room. I said later. We do this first, then. I've been asked to go to some.
That be a group? Should that be a group?
Sorry, Saras?
Summary, or can they actually share their learnings individually on Canvas? This activity, because they didn't also have so much time, can they share on Canvas as an individual key learning from the session rather than a group summary? Whichever.
So may I make a suggestion? Let them
individual, then everybody has to think and respond. If it is group, then some things can get missed out.
Let them respond individually and little bit meet once as a group, as this group outside, so that perhaps next week they present a little more clearly. Like they have.
They can present on Canvas. We don't need to, because we have to go to the next level, no?
Okay.
Yeah, they can just present their key learnings as a few points on Canvas. I have sent that to Shikha in the Yitp.
That's fine.
We have a few announcements to make once people come back. So Shikha, you can close the rooms, no?
They closed, Saras. Already closed.
Closed, all have come back. Okay, yes.
Saras, can I share the screen?
Yeah. So just to consolidate this session, we've just started working with the modification and function. We're going to open 2 discussions on Canvas. One will be for you to share your key learnings from the previous session on glaciers. Okay. And one will be on your key learnings from this activity. So then we move on to the next level of modification next class. Okay, and for your submissions, so you can all make your submissions, and it will be shared with everyone through the files on Canvas. And the group that did not get to share today will do it next week.
Saras, the Klesha discussion should be done individually, or the groups only will be posting it on?
Individual. What is your learning from that whole sharing, everybody sharing, and my discussion and everything? Yeah, individual, both individual. Okay, so we just have a few announcements. So apart from the 4 Wednesdays, we are also having the session on 30th. So we're having 5 sessions in June, right? All the Wednesdays. And July, again, we will have all the 4 Wednesdays, 9 to 12. August will be your final written assessment. And in September, we have allocated 2 sessions, which might be on the 2nd week and 3rd week, or 3rd week and 4th week. Same Wednesdays, 3 hours, where you will be doing all your presentations. Okay, with that, with your assessment and your presentations, and then your documentation to be submitted by end of September. So all this will be done by September, so that October you can graduate. Now the group mentoring sessions, originally we decided to make it part of the regular Wednesday sessions, but because Mamta has moved on to US, she'll be in US for some time. And I think one more mentor cannot make it during that time. So we are asking the mentors to find their own time with each group. So Shakuntala's and Talat's group will come together with Mamta. Kavita, Radhika, Lekha and Rinalini will come together with Uttara, and Kamala and Padmaja and their students together. So you'll have 2 group mentoring sessions in July and 2 group mentoring sessions in August, and 1 in September. Okay, and the proposal is that each group can bring at least one student ideally, so that the mentor can do the consultation. So the senior mentor will do the consultation, and one of the mentors will teach the class. It will be a very, very simple consultation, and the class that has to be taught within 1 hour. And then the 2nd hour, you bring in your questions. So you have to do some homework, write down what questions you have from your observation, from your teaching, all that, and then come and discuss it in the group mentoring session. So there will be anything between 6 to 9 people in a group with 3 or 4 mentors together. Yeah. Any questions? So all this will be posted on Canvas.
Saraswathi, I have one question.
Yeah.
So in this GMS, you're talking about the observation, each student bringing one and then asking.
So you will get to observe, all the students in that group will observe that one class. Yeah. So like that, you have 5 GMS, you can observe 5 sessions. So even if you don't get to observe other one-on-one sessions, in the GMS itself, you will get to observe.
So we have an opportunity with GMS, which will start in July.
Correct.
And there is time to submit that observation assignment. It's not end of June, right? Because I had scheduled my one-on-one with my mentor for bringing in a student, thinking that I have
all your submissions. See, as and when you finish your observation, you have to get it corrected by whoever did the class. Yeah. But your submissions can come late.
They'll come later.
It has to be recorded, documented, and checked by the concerned teacher.
Sure, sure. So
then as soon as you finish the class, you don't pile up that work.
So your
submissions can come later.
Later, okay.
We've already been doing this, is bringing a student, and the rest of the mentors group, we've been doing that 3. We've already done. So is it the same you're talking about, which it's not very different from what is planned for July?
Yeah. You can do other things. I mean, you don't need to necessarily do this if people in the group have done enough observations. You can do other things with the mentor.
So, Saras?
Yeah.
So the GMS is for 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And in 1 hour, we do the consultation and observation. And we bring our questions, etc. in the following hour. I mean, it's in the same session. Or
ideally, if you can put all your questions together, and suppose your mentoring group, you have a WhatsApp group, you can put all your questions there so they can be addressed rather than you coming up with something in the class. So come well prepared. You have to do some homework and come. so that you use the time very efficiently. Every group is going to have 2 or 3 mentors and 1 senior mentor. Yeah, so use your time efficiently. A lot of people's time is blocked in these sessions. Yeah.
Saras, I feel very overwhelmed, Saras, every time I think about observations. Can you guide us in some way that I can get better at this?
Just keep doing it. Yeah. I'm saying it's something that you're practicing, that you're learning. That's all. See yourself as a learner. Don't see yourself as somebody who should have achieved something or should get it right. Just see yourself as a learner. You don't need to get overwhelmed. Yeah. And it will be overwhelming in the beginning. You ask your mentors, they will tell you. The online thing is a little tricky. So sometimes we don't even understand how complicated it can be because we didn't go through it when we were studying.
And what happens if we decide to not take up observation for the GMS? Then what's the structure of the GMS?
You can discuss with your mentors and come up with the structure.
Also, leading up to every GMS, all of you will have a lot of questions pertaining to your internship or some specific question from a study session or something. No? Start making a note and bringing it into the GMS.
When do we start the, should I ask this now? Next time. When do we start the community project? Should we wait for the group observation, the individual observation? Go step by step, the way it is mentioned in Canvas. Then bring in 1 student for 15 hours, then the group for 10 hours. It should go in that progression, how it's mentioned.
See, you've already done some group classes, no? You have attended, you have observed some group class. Most of you have. I think some of you were not part of the 8-week program, but most of you have. So if you have a group to start your community project, take the help of your mentor and start. You don't need to wait for completing more group classes or anything. You've already done enough. Then if you have a group, you start the work. We don't have much time. It's June now. So we have July, August, and September. By September end, you have to ideally complete it.
Yeah.
Also, when you're putting groups together, see if you want to work with somebody. So you
can
do
group. Yeah. Instead of doing individually, say 2 or 3 people can join together and work on a project. But each of you have to teach the required number of classes and document it. And if you're doing the same group, then you have to plan together and execute together. You can't work in isolation. So all that is important.
Saras, the written exam in August, there was something mentioned there. Will that include the Yoga Sutras? Because the first test, we didn't have Yoga Sutras.
Now you will have.
Okay.
It will be more reflective, don't worry. I'm not expecting you to go out and teach Yoga Sutra. Just more reflective, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, we finish with the prayer. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.